Yeah. Yep. Okay. Um, Let me share. Okay. So the last class, of course, you all are culture. When you get to understand the culture of somebody, what they value or what they include as part of their daily lives, it makes you think about what you value as well. So, what is it? They do Yam Festival. You do what's it called? Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is so important in this culture that families get to know each other. This is a time when young people bring their friends to their family, for their family to interact with them, their friends to know them. It's a way of bonding. And then Christmas, very few people celebrate it, but that's a very big one. But in this place, they don't have Thanksgiving, they have the Yam Festival. The Yam Festival is not just about eating, it also indicative of some other things. Now we talked about the fattening room, and you now know this culture long ago used to have what is called the rites of passage. The rites of passage. In the culture I come from, when you turn 21, the mother will give the daughter a key, a symbolic key, that now you have a key to the house, you can come in and go out as you like. Your life is now in your hands. Do what you like. And they will take a photograph of it and it's always in our album. We don't do it anymore. And I don't know of any family in America that holds a rites of passage. I know when you lose your front tooth, sometimes they give you money and you throw it on the roof, right? Is it on the roof or under your pillow? Oh, you put it under your pillow. Oh, how does it happen? Oh, okay. How does that happen? Will come at night and give you money. And they'll take the tooth. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't want to disconstruct that. I believe it. I believe there's a tooth fairy and it takes your tooth and then it brings you money. Don't ask me where the tooth fairy comes from or where it lives or where the tooth fairy got money from. Don't ask me, please. No. Yes, yes. Just believe it. I believe it. I believe it. So these are rites of passage. The question is, do you believe it? Did you believe it then? And what does it mean that is a tooth? But for these people, is the fattening and is a female. The question you should also ask me is this not unfair? Why is it that the males are not mentioned? Well, they pay attention to some things and they don't pay attention to other things. The males also have their own, but in this particular instance and in this particular culture, women are the necks that turn the heads. Because they say men are the heads of a family. So if you're looking from outside in, you would think that the men are the ones in control. But things like this, the fattening room tells you that you're missing it. The women are the ones in charge, but they just don't stand forward and they're not aggressive about it. all the women in the African cultures know how to turn their men on their little fingers. So that is why we will pay attention to it. What you don't know its strength can kill you easily. But if you know the strength of an enemy or the strength of somebody else, you can also prepare for it. So this is what, in case somebody asked, in case you didn't ask, that's the answer. Why not talk about the men? The men have already assumed headship of societies, but it's just symbolic. The women are the next. And what we're saying is, can a head exist without the neck? No. So we think of complementarity. Both the men and the women are necessary. Okay. So this other one, a historical moment in the lives of the people in Calabar, the Bibios and the Effiks, was that they were killing twins. But there's been a lot of talk that it was not just by external intervention. It was not just by Mary Slessor, this missionary. It was not because of her alone, that there had been a lot of things. And what he was using this to say, that cultures don't remain static, they change. But how does the change happen? Sometimes the change happens from outside. You know, I would always say every culture remains in a state of rest or rottenness unless acted upon by an external force. Cultures can remain, most of the times, when you go to the university and come back, you come back home, you bring new ideas. Some of you even bring new recipes and try it with your family to say, hey, my roommate is from Iran. She speaks Farsi, not Arabic. And this is what she eats. Can I try it out? And the family says, go ahead. So we always come from outside and bring new ideas. So this is not just about twins, it is about the belief. And the Yoruba people, apart from the Calabar, where I come from, the ethnic group I come from, they believe that twins have supernatural powers. Can you imagine it for just 1 minute? Two people have occupied the same bedroom in their mother for 9 months. Two people in one. And there are stories around of twins all over the world where you put one here and the other one is on the 5th floor and they can communicate with each other. Have you ever heard it? There are twins that were separated. They were separated for years, one in Australia, one in Britain. And when they came together, their tastes were almost the same. So there is a lot to learn apart from, what do these people believe? They believe that twins were bad women, but other than that, they stopped killing and they changed. So the essence of this was to talk about how cultures are not static. I have been thinking seriously about this aspect of it, and I asked myself, but maybe this class is really just about let the students have the grades. Can we do a social experiment? Can what we are learning be practicalized? And this is my idea. Hey, you don't have to take, it's just a suggestion, you don't have to do it. But I just think that there is a possibility of seeing what it is like to collaborate, because I'm in a culture that privileges competition. Now I'm asking students, 20 of you, 23 of you, that is it possible for you to read up this SUSU, a system of contribution, and maybe end of a semester, you all say, okay, let's contribute $1 every week. And we'll contribute $5, and then we will have a big feast. Or you can decide what can $100 do? And what would happen is, if you decide to do it, it will throw up a leader, somebody who will take charge of it. And that person, from then on, you begin to see, test your leadership skills. And then the rest of you will be testing your followership skills. And you would also be testing your trust skills. Can you trust this person who is holding the purse on your behalf? Can you all decide what will happen and when? This is how communities work, right? You have read it. It is not American, fine. But does it mean that we can't borrow ideas from somewhere else? This is week 7. We still have 7 more weeks. Can we try it? And what this is saying, and it also comes in building, and you all have, what's that association Jimmy Carter used to belong to that builds houses for people? Human rights? No. Housing rights? No. Jimmy Carter, he builds houses around for people. They help people, even they're in Gainesville. Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity. And what is the philosophy of Habitat for Humanity? It is that housing is not just commercial, that housing can be a human right. And we will be getting there because we're going to invite people from Grace, there's this place in Gainesville where people who are down on their luck go to, Grace House or something. We're bringing them to come and talk, and we're going to look at homelessness in South Africa, and we're going to look at it also in America. But this idea, how can a class, a group of people from different disciplines, biology, architecture, computer science, engineering, is it really possible that human beings that don't know each other can come together, work on something in 7 weeks? Okay, so they call it Osusu. It's a contribution. It also spreads to other aspects of life. In the villages, I want to build a house. I don't need to go and employ an architect, constructor and stuff. There are people with the skills in the village. I will just announce to them at a village age meeting and tell them, it is time. I have found a woman I want to marry. We need a house. We have our grandfather has just given us a plot of land and would like to build it. And we'll choose a date. And they would come. They will build it. And I will supply them with food and drinks and entertainment when they're building it. It's a cooperative thing. So when somebody else is going to, I will go with them to that place, right? So we all help each other. It's cooperative and it's collaborative. So this is the idea of that. How does it come in buildings? That yes, people in different societies can have a place to live on without necessarily breaking a bank or going to borrow. It is not every society that is built on competition. The economic model for some of the African countries outside of a city is collaboration, not competition. So I say it again. Some, and you might ask me, why not all? Some of the cities, of the places outside of a city on the African continent, they roll on collaboration and not competition. People don't want to own things because most of them travel from place to place. So ownership is not, and you know what? Even this culture that has, oh, my dad owns this house. Parents are beginning to find out that their children don't want to live in the state in which they were brought up. Family houses are in the decline. They sell them off and go and buy somewhere else. So these people don't particularly have such great attachment. And how does that, in later episodes or later classes, how does that help the environment when it's not about ownership? When people own things and they want to, as opposed to a communal thing. We're also going to see at a later date, we'll see this whole issue of eco villages. They're in America here. They spread all over. All right. So for this one, the class discussion, I want, what does it mean to be a human being? 5 minutes. This side, this whole group, this is group 1. This is group 2. What does it mean, group 1, to be a human being? Group 2, what does it mean to be a good? Take 5 minutes. What does it mean to be a human being? Group 1. Group 2, what does it mean to be a human being?
Everybody has the question of what's the meaning of life, the meaning of that may be raised. There's human, there is none.
Every day, millions of Americans like me go to work. All right.
I feel like you just have to be born as a human to be a human being. I don't know. Well, like, so are you saying like, wait, so are you saying like someone who like can't think fully isn't even human? That's what I'm saying. You said
You're born and breathing, you're.
That's how I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's.
Because like, I don't know.
Anybody.
I mean, I guess most
Your
people
brain.
think-
But like there's something different for like a human and like a dog. You know what I mean? Like a dog is born and breathing.
Exactly, but a dog is born as a dog. A dog is born as a human.
Bro.
I don't know, I guess I'm not really thinking about it very complicated. Yes.
Yeah.
But we can do this more.
No, I say you can still be.
Your brain can still like kind of in a way, if I had to need to.
Are you spectators or you participate?
We're part of it.
Okay. So what is she saying?
He's saying that there's a difference between human beings and dogs.
So you can't answer the question without something else. I said, what does it mean to be a human being? So it means that to know what it means to be a human being, then you're not a dog. That hasn't answered the question.
That's not what I was saying.
Oh, so she said okay. All right. So go ahead. Yes, group 1. Yeah, group 1. What does it mean to be a human being?
We didn't really finish our discussion, but what we were talking about was like, because the boys were saying like, oh, well, if you're born and breathing, you're a human. But I said like, well, a dog is born and breathing, but it's not a dog. Like there's some sort of like cognitive abilities that humans have that animals don't have, and like stuff to do with our soul that distincts us from other living creatures.
Yes.
I just said if you're born as a human, then you're a human being.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, they're saying like they were bringing up points like consciousness, and I was thinking like some people are like not conscious, but I would still consider them human beings.
Mhm. Like somebody who's in coma.
It's still a human being.
Mhm.
You're gonna know.
So what does it mean to be a human being? Now we know what
You're born as a human.
we're born as a human.
I'm sitting around.
Okay, just we'll group two word.
Yeah.
So yeah, that you're born. So the whole thing about the meaning. So what is the meaning of a car?
Right.
So what is the meaning of a human being?
Live.
Like she said, dogs leave too. Cats leave. Horses leave.
But they're not human.
Then we don't know what it means to be human yet.
It's a meaning of.
So yeah, what's the meaning of life? Yes, Lily. Yeah. To be part of the. So that's what it means. That once you're a part of this thing that you have called Homo sapiens, I don't even know what that means, right? You linked me with something I have no clue. All right, Kelly, yes,
Just gonna, are we defining the being is?
yes.
Defining
But
what the
if-
human experience.
No, we're defining what a human. What it does it mean? Homo sapien is another name for human beings. It means straight backed.
Guess you just gotta be straight back, though,
But
right?
that's what it means.
Huh?
It means
That's
that
what
they have
a human-
So to be human means to be straight backed. What does it mean to be straight backed? So anything that stands on 2 feet, okay, yeah,
Multiple thumbs.
they have thumbs.
Chimps.
Okay. All right, so the chips. All right, group two. What do you have to tell them?
Honestly speaking, we just looked at it from a less literal point of view. It was just more like, well, to be human is, well, like you were saying, meaning of life.
But you can rely on for those you trust. Civilization is seen as decisions. Some genuine scholarship from the still more to go as we continue to educate ourselves as Africans. Through the so-called African movements, carry and film that shape. It's not for the fact that Africans all throughout the continent have an extensive history of social structures. Fortunately, creation materials, Wisconsin, feel like access to you're not to anything other than life. So it's really simple to highlight the value and journey of the so-called tradition of African architecture. I'm refrain from referring to this construction as one as home hopefully just this once for the general terminology. This can be seen all throughout the African people seem to be but to solve this problem, open lines are very effective in this geographical landscape. Something to the take action on Sunni and Central African dome architecture. So, to begin, in Africa, as well as in architectural determine the climatic conditions, natural resources, and sanitary habits of its people. African regions vary from domes and tropical habitats, tombs and palaces and others. From ancient Egypt, Greece and Norway, architectural achievements of African people, from the simplest dome lines, first pyramid had to be planned and constructed with skill and ingenuity. Houses in Upper Sahara Africa or south of the Sahara, scholarly architectural construction, formations and designs, thousands of years. Also, these homes in the Upper Sahara are circular and shaped an absolutely number of advantages to the people there. So, the circle provides more than 25% more floor space than the square the same building. 40% space rectangle that circular houses require significant and fewer materials than square or rectangular ones. Circular houses also have little resistance to the forces of changing winds. They generally are easy to make. So it's a factor from the African peoples. It's an every few months for agricultural Africans who frequently vegetation. Circular house design is that of the traditional team, which dates back thousands of years. To build their homes, these people in this cargo region first drive saplings into the ground. Next, the tops of the securing them with soil to lighting saplings. This forms a dome-shaped structure that is covered with large heart-shaped leaves that to form a culture. Branches are placed on top to hold the leaves flat. Once some settle into place, harvest rains generally cannot penetrate the house. The Shanga, Tanzania, from the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro, traditionally construct shape houses. Interestingly, the critical dimension used in the construction of these homes is the height of the tallest line known by the diameter is always 2 to 3 times the length of its arm span from the fingertips to the fingertips of the other. The circumference of the house is marked out by tying hold to the end of the attaching the other end to a peg located at the center of the planned ring as the surrounding it draws a circle textual cylindrical from the loops, top shaped arch roofs. Intersect to form a circle. The distinction between the cylindrical design and dome and designs of the team to construct the roofs and the dome and pieces the same material as the roof. Usually saplings come with leaves or grasses. In contrast, So the cellular home like collect so a lot of material that is plentiful in the area. It's difficult to describe creating cylindrical technically the cacao of present day Kenya, for example, traditionally formed with a network of winery that is fastened to post and clay. The clay is not abundant. In contrast, Haiti of Tanzania construct a large, all structure with large rooms. The walls are 10 inches thick and have flat natural throughout. This type of construction keeps the structures weather. Which is taken on the inside. Since ancient times, have constructed houses resembling covered wagons. The structure traditionally is covered with a mixture of mud and cow dung. Once the sun has thoroughly dried the walls, the house is clean and sanitary. Fishermen tools utilities for their homes, which they construct the thatch made of papaya stems. The finished homes resemble from baskets and can be from place to place by canoe. So many of these houses actually are whitewashed. Some houses have murals painted on the air. 134 IQ. I make less money than friends who barely passed high school. Here's what I types of attention are placed around buildings or roofs. Of course, African architecture to dwell buildings, as mentioned before. Africans have a lot of reasons for their various construction types. Functionality and seem to be the driving forces of said construction types. Generally, acts as an excellent cooling agent, so that in construction in Africa's tropical temperatures makes sense. Ancient Africans observed the elephants use of wood to cool itself down in the hot sun and endured for their architectural style. Simple takes less effort and just gets the job done. I can also imagine that once ancient Africans perfected this method to avoid using diverse architectural styles for just purposes, but also for the purposes to indicate unique status. Such recognizable traditional architectural style used for grandeur and status, stone traditions at Great Zimbabwe. Some possess the old dwellings along with stone architecture for the elite. This monumental architectural achievement gave of the splendor of Tapa, Tapa Empire, these kingdoms of Southern Africa. Thousands of years ago, it too sends a major triumph of African architecture and construction. Zane introduced a perspective of the ingenuity of traditional in Africa because its invention in Africa is often dragged through the mud. Intended. So
Welcome back. We'll take a moment for. And
There's only one Ozempic. What was that?
crispy, saucy, and for a limited time, just $5. It's got chicken sandwiches that fit you. It was created to fill a gap that we found in our typical curriculums in schools, whether it's high school, university. We were not finding a lot of curriculums that were taught from an Afrocentric perspective. So, like we've talked about today, many teachers would find it very difficult to teach on Africa. Students would find it difficult to find research to incorporate Afrocentric design philosophies into their projects. And so we created this parallel academic platform as a resource for teachers and students to see how they could learn about Africa and incorporate that in their classrooms and in their projects. cpdafrica.org. Okay, so with that, today's presentation is going to be a mixture of architecture and, of course, Islamic architecture. We're going to combine the two, African architecture, Islamic architecture, architecture in general. How do we start out? How do we teach on Sudano-Sahelian architecture in Africa, its cultural significance and continued relevance as an environmentally sustainable architectural model? For that, we need to look at the definition of architecture itself. Typically, architecture is defined as the art and science of constructing a building. But when we dig deeper, we understand that architecture is the reflection of a people's culture, their lifestyle, aesthetics, local building materials, the climate, geography, political and economic purchasing power of a people in place. It's all of these intangibles manifested into the built environment to make tangible cultural heritage, right? So that is how we define architecture. So from there, we can begin to look at how these design prototypes will present in different spaces. So if I showed you these images, I think most of us would know immediately this must be Chinese or Japanese or Asian architecture. It's a language that is very expressive visually. When you see it, it's not just science or engineering. There is an art to the architecture, and it identifies people, place, their aesthetics, their culture. If I showed you these images, you would think probably, maybe, if you visited Holland, Dutch architecture, the gingerbread houses, you might be familiar. Or if you saw this prototype, you would begin to think of probably Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, North Africa. There's an aesthetic, there's a materiality to the images that gives context to place, to region. Our mosques. Immediately we begin to recognize, again, this is an African architectural image, it's Islamic, we'll talk more about that. But these images, we immediately begin to understand, okay, this must be an African architectural aesthetic. So in 2014, we mark our 10 years this month, CPD Africa was launched, and it's a culture-inspired, research-based design-build initiative created to inspire the development of African-centered design languages for Africa and the diaspora that are culturally and environmentally sustainable. We wanted to have architects join us to fast-track an evolution of contemporary design languages that preserved this heritage and identity. We didn't want it to just stay in the past. Some people see it as relics or something you see for museum architecture only. But how can we continue to preserve these cultures and faiths in our built environment today? We found out that, of course, we had to do a lot of teaching because most designers were not familiar with African architectural languages. And of course, very hard for them to find instructors that could teach. So we had to do a lot of teaching in the beginning. And of course, the first thing you want to do is show location, right? So where is Africa? What is that map? The continent have looked like before we started defining it in sub-Saharan Africa or the Sahara Desert or Black Africa, Northern Africa, right? And lands of the Sahel and the Savannah. How did Africans themselves, thousands of years ago, allocate themselves on the continent, and how did they emerge? So we had to do a lot of teaching. Also, we had to explain that, like our Prof. Usman said earlier, we've got to get out of the habit of calling African people tribes and all of those now derogatory terms. When you think about the population of France, 40 million, the population of the Yorubas, 40 million, why is one call it nation and one call it tribe? So we do want to get some of those words out of our dictionary. But these two maps, the one on the left shows Africa today, the 54 national identities, post-colonial times. But the map on the right is my favorite because it shows the true Africa. Africa, in fact, those thousands of black lines denote the true ethnicities, the nations within nations in Africa and how they define themselves. So, for example, in Nigeria, which is where I'm actually speaking from, and hopefully the internet will stay steady. In Nigeria, we have over 250 ethnic groups. So that will be 250 distinct architectural languages. And like Professor Usman also showed in his map, almost 50% of the continent, there's that line down the middle where the north is Islamic, the south is Christian. And then you have these spiritual identities, and then you have the ethnic identities. Are you Shakiri? Are you Zulu? Are you from Senegal? What ethnicity are you? And so all of these factors will dictate on your architectural language. Okay, so we're going somewhere. Y'all stay with me. This next map, I talk about the fact that, yes, Africans were taken out of the continent, whether they were Christians, they were Muslims, or they were traditionalists, they were taken out to the Americas, out east, up into Europe, and they carried a lot of these sensibilities with them. So when we're talking about preservation of identity and culture and architecture, what was taken on those boats? We know that Islam came into Africa 1,000 years ago, and then Christianity came in 500 years ago. And so the impact of these outside cultures blended at different rates. But all of these make up the African identity, and they moved out into these distant spaces. What architectural practices would they have taken with them?
University en recorrido mucho, traspasado tantas barreras, alcanzado metas que parecían imposibles. Pero como tú, nos conformamos. Quisimos construir puentes para llegar a más lejos.
Okay, so African architecture, developing a lens in which